Hello, my name is Michaela O'Connor Abrams, founder of Mocha Plus. Welcome to our Collective Conscience series. We created this series for you to bring together great minds from around the world on myriad topics that we hope will expand your mind, will challenge your current beliefs, and give you an opportunity to be inspired with every video. Enjoy.
Hello to everybody. I'm Shelley Kieran, partner at Mocha Plus, and welcome to our 11th Collective Conscience. And happy Memorial Day to all of you. We're so happy to see you, and thank you for joining us. Michaela and I created Collective Conscience because we really wanted to bring together all kinds of people with different perspectives from different industries and channel a collective conscience around curiosity and new ideas and different perspectives, because it's all connected and it all matters. And that's why we wanted to have these salons and all gather together. And we're really looking forward to this evening. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Michaela.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody and happy Memorial Day. This is a special day for so many reasons. For all of us, of course, given the significance of the people who served and still serve our country. In my case, it's very close because my late husband, Alan Abrams, was a first lieutenant in the U.S. Marine Corps during Vietnam, but stationed in Iwakuni, Japan. So I think of him very often and on this day specifically. And it could not be better than to have our guest, Joy Sterling, the CEO of Iron Horse, with us, because Alan so loved and admired Joy, and we had the honor of spending many a beautiful luncheon and some dinners at Iron Horse with Joy and her family. So Joy, thank you so much for taking this evening for an hour of Memorial Day to share with us and all of our community at Collective Conscience.
Thank you. I am so thrilled to be here, number one. And I have to say, right back at you, I adored Alan. And I think the cellar behind you is testimony to what people ask me all the time, what is the best part about being in the wine world? And it's the people. It's the people. And having that wine, Iron Horse, brought me to Alan and to you. And that is our connection. And that's part of what makes it just so fabulous.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And again, really an honor. And, well, we've known each other for quite some time until I invited you to be our guest and really make sure I knew everything, because I knew a little bit about your world travels and things. But Joy, I spent more time and thought, wow, I mean, how did she do all of this? And I was pretty certain that our community would really want to know, before we even get into our beautiful Rainbow Cuvee and tasting and talking about the bubbly and some of the characteristics of it, really talking about how you got here, because everyone's journey is the fabric of their lives that gives somebody an idea more than just meeting them at that moment. But so what makes up this person? So you start you're raised in Paris, right? Because your parents go there.
Can't you tell?
Well, and you do speak fluent French, that I have heard. But then, coming back to the States and going to Yale and becoming really one of, in my opinion, one of the first very powerful women in media at ABC in Los Angeles. And then, oh yes, there's Kilamanjaro and the Yangtze and the Bio in Chile. And I just thought, wow, there's so much that we could spend an entire salon just on those travels. But in the interest of time and everybody's interest also in Iron Horse, I thought you would give this some context of your travels and what took you there, and then give us, so if you could, and it's so hard when somebody says, yes, but what was your favorite chapter? But try to do it. What was your favorite chapter? And talk about any of these pieces as much as you like to share.
Well, one of the things that I feel is that I'm probably the luckiest person walking. And I come from a long line of people who believe you can have many chapters in your life, that you can keep reinventing yourself. My father is a reformed or recovering attorney. I'm not quite sure you ever get over that. And he's now been a vintner longer than he ever practiced law. And he's on his third or fourth life. So I have big shoes to fill, but I'm working on it. And everyone has not only has been so special, but also so informative. My experience in France was probably the most pivotal, changing thing in my life. I mean, I maybe have had more higher successes or greater, more exhilarating pinnacle experiences, and certainly things that maybe I can say, oh, you know, I did that, which is pretty exhilarating in itself. In this case, I am just so incredibly lucky that my parents moved to France in 1967 when I was 13 years old. And a lot of people say, well, oh, weren't you upset that you were going to be leaving all your friends? And I was packed. I was at the door. I totally got this. France. And it was just miraculous. So we lived in Paris. We had a gorgeous home in the south of France. And I got to travel all over Europe with my parents. We visited all the different food and wine regions. My first personal experience of wine was on a trip, on a drive from Paris to the south of France, and sitting outside on the lawn in front of Les Antiquités in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. We were having picnics. My parents were drinking, of course, you know, wine, and we had cheese and bread. And I mean, that is my definition of quality. That is, to me, the height of luxury. That is because it's so perfectly real. And so I think that that's very foundational to how I feel, and that a perfect cheese or my father's heirloom fine ripened tomato is, you could wrap it in velvet as I'm concerned. That is priceless. That is the most luxurious, lavish, wonderful thing that you can have. So that really set and informs my sense of quality across the board.
Wonderful. So the whole idea then that for a long time, before you became CEO of Iron Horse, which was in 2006, you were representing the wine all around the nation and were meeting some incredible people that were doing just some, you know, important things like Reagan and Gorbachev and peace and, you know, small accomplishments like that. I mean, incredible. Once again, the vehicle, right, is the wine, but the context of that experience and what it did for you and continuing to build the story of Iron Horse had to have been beyond fascinating to be in that company and continue to move that through all these different circles.
It's really exciting. Number one, that wine is such an incredible vehicle. And as you say, I've always thought of it as my passport. It's amazing. People are really interested in wine. And you can talk about wine to anybody. It is completely non-confrontational. It is mainly because the golden rule is that whatever you taste is true. I can't taste what you taste. You can't taste what I taste. All we can do is exchange experiences, just like lying on your back in the grass, looking up at the clouds. You see a bear, I see a ship. Okay, it's fine.
Right.
So one of my, I'm going to give two experiences, if I may.
Please.
Okay. So one was just by hazard, because I did travel around the country, and I just flew by myself, checked into hotels by myself, dined in restaurants at night, table for one, no problem, and made sales calls during the day. That's what I did. I sold wine. I still sell wine. But I was sitting at the bar at the Four Seasons restaurant in New York. Now, this was one of the landmark restaurants in the country, just famous, and only the most important people in the world went there, plus Joy Sterling. Then I'm sitting in the bar, and up the stairs walks number one, one of the most handsome chefs, Eric Ripert from Le Bernardin, right? And he's with the Dalai Lama. And they're headed into a private room. The Dalai Lama, does he eat? I don't I don't even know. Does he eat? Does he drink? I have no idea, but I swear to God, he was from there to there with me. And I was so thrilled. I was so thrilled. And it was just the happenstance that because of Iron Horse, I was sitting in that bar waiting to talk to the owner, Julian Nicolini, about selling him a couple of bottles of wine. And I have the grace of the Dalai Lama. So that was one just amazing experience. And then I would say the one that was incredibly thrilling was very often our wine is served at state dinners or at I'm bragging now, or the State Department. But I've only been present once. And that was at a lunch at the State Department for then Vice President Xi, hosted by Hillary Clinton, with Vice President Biden in attendance, in just the Benjamin Franklin dining room. So under 100 people. I mean, I was in the room where it happened. And I got to see Xi, Clinton, and Biden toast with Iron Horse. And we have a photograph in our office, which I will love to show you when you come get a tour. And it shows the three of them. And it's really hilarious because I always think of these thought bubbles that are going to be over their heads. So Xi in the middle, by their political system, he knew he was going to be president at the time. The other two, we still don't know.
Yeah,
so that was really big. And you know, I mean, Henry Kissinger was there and Bob Iger was there. I mean, it's just hilarious that I got to be there, but that is thanks to my great friend. His name is Jason Larkin, and he is the chef at the State Department, which is a civil servant position, and a great chef, I might add. And he is the one who included me being there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an active friendship.
Yeah.
Like this is, Michaela, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, completely, really, and we're honored. So, Joy, much as you did, really becoming the whole bureau chief and heading up the whole newsroom for ABC in Los Angeles, becoming the CEO of a winery. It's not that there aren't women doing this, but what I always find so important and impressive is that you're not just a steward of your land and Iron Horse, but you've really made it your mission, it seems, to care about everything beyond the boundaries of Sonoma County, from the ocean to the newer initiative of internet equality. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about what drives you to these different, I even hate to call them causes, because they're important points for all of us and the future of the planet. So what takes you there?
You mentioned two that are very, very important: the ocean and the internet. So, but they're different. So may I speak about each one separately?
Please do.
The ocean is 13 miles as the drone flies that away, and it controls our microclimate. It is the engine of the fog and the cool climate that allows us to make sparkling wine on the level of elegance and finesse that we do. So the health of the ocean is absolutely critical to what we do. And that is why that was the primary reason why I chose that as a focus. I care about a lot of things, but the ocean is essential to what we do as a family, and this vineyard, which will go on in perpetuity. So this is a part of the stewardship of the whole. Now that it has bigger benefits, yay. So we have a partnership with National Geographic that goes back about the time that you and I met. And we make a special cuvee that we crafted with them called Ocean Reserve. And it's a Blanc de Blanc, which means it's 100% Chardonnay. And beginning with the 2005 vintage, we dedicated our entire Blanc de Blanc production to Ocean Reserve. And $4 a bottle goes to National Geographic Ocean Initiative, which helps establish marine protected areas and support sustainable fishing around the globe. So with 11 or 12, I'll let you do the math. We're on, our current vintage is 16. So with 11 vintages under our belt, our contribution has been over $500,000. Wow. And well, your contribution. It's for every bottle sold. So thank you. Saving the planet one sip at a time. Right. The internet is something that I have become passionate about for the last couple of years. And I have become an activist, a political activist, and this is one of my passion causes. And that is, I feel emphatically that we need broadband equality. The pandemic has laid bare the horrible digital divide that exists. It was there, but this shows you have a kid who can't go to school and they're at home, they have no internet. So they don't go to school. No telemedicine. You're a working mother and your child has a rash. You can't just show the doctor on your phone the rash. I mean, let's say you could do your work at home, except you don't have broadband.
Right.
It is a complete roadblock. And amazingly, 85 years ago this month, FDR signed an executive order creating the Rural Electrification Administration, which brought electricity to the rest of America. 30% of America did not have electricity 85 years ago. This is a little bit after the light bulb.
Just a couple of years.
Just a couple of years. And on so many levels, number one, it is still to this day considered the most successful federal initiative ever. Number two, it was critical to the stimulus rebuilding of the country after the Depression. And number three, the economies in the rural parts of America suddenly flourished. So it's just such a no-brainer. And I think, unfortunately, few people realize, except now, not only with news reports, but also there's so much more interest in social distancing, i.e. more space, meaning out in the country. And you won't be able to do that and function unless we can get broadband deployed. Now, do you want to hear more?
Yeah, please.
Or are we done? Because I could go on.
Well, no, seriously. I mean, it is obviously such a passion project. So let me ask you this, what if you could just deploy the people on this collective conscience salon
Yeah.
to do something about that, just that initiative, what can
Yeah,
they do?
right. Write your, if you're a Californian, write Gavin Newsom. If
Okay,
you're out of state, write the chairman of the FCC, Ajit Par, please.
okay, and say that this is, and so do
And
you,
write your senator. In California, it doesn't really matter, but out of state, write your senators if you have a Republican senator, because in the current HEROES Act, that includes some money for broadband, and we want that to stay in there. So however it pans out and whoever's bill it ends up being, I don't really care, but we want broadband. Broadband is infrastructure. It's infrastructure, that's what it is. And it's the most cost-effective infrastructure. Every dollar put into broadband in rural communities brings back $4 to the local economy.
wow.
Do we have to think about this?
No, I
No.
mean, that's pretty blind. It's one of those, what I call the blinding glimpse of the obvious, the BGOs. Yes, it is. So are you writing about this? Are you chronicling? Is there a place for us to follow you in your reporting of this and progress or the lack thereof?
No.
Okay, well then here's an assignment, Joy, because you just don't have enough to do. Is please do that for us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more thing. Thank you, Michaela. All right, so let us move from broadband all the way back to your beautiful property. You're now broadcasting, speaking of broadband and broadcasting, from your deck, your back deck of your house, where right behind your head is the warehouse, right?
Can you see it?
There it is, everybody, right there. And then over that right shoulders we're facing you is the Chardonnay.
Yes, I had to think about that. Thank you.
The winery.
The Chardonnay is over there. Gorgeous, gorgeous Chardonnay. And then the winery is up here. And so therefore the ocean is that away. You can probably tell because of where the sun is. And the warehouse behind me is called the Meadow Warehouse. And that is where we have 4.5 years of sparkling wine aging on Tirage or on the yeast in the bottle. And this is the moment when we say, does everybody know what that means?
What I think, I don't know, and there's not a lot of hand raising, so
Okay, we're good.
which means, yeah.
Okay, so I can see it from my kitchen window, which always says to me, Joy, you do not have time for another cup of coffee. Get out there, get out there. But we have wines back there that are, we'll be drinking in 3 years. And we have wines in there that we will be drinking in 13 to 15 years. So it's a very wonderful place, and I keep an eye on it. I am the gatekeeper. You drive right past my house when you go to the winery. And my parents live as part of the vineyard in the original Victorian. So they're, well, I would say it's about a 15-minute walk uphill for me to go to them. And then my brother and sister-in-law and their children live in the far opposite corner. So we have this little Walton thing going on here that is
So wonderful. Actually, someone who's on this salon this week is our guest next week. My dearest friend that I've known for 45 years, and will be reporting from her orchard in Fresno, and it's the same thing. Parents are in the house, and then each of the kids, now married and a grandchild and another one on the way, are in another part of the property, and it's so great to have a family together like that.
It's great all the time. And in this time, it has been, I pinch myself every single day, and not just my parents every day. We say that, they say that, we all say, we are so incredibly lucky to get to be here right now.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It truly is. But and that is something I don't want to lose.
Right.
That feeling of feeling just so grateful.
Yeah. Well, and we've talked on many of our salons through different speakers and channels, from the Thank You Project to Magic in the Mundane to Focus Catalyst. I can't tell you how many salons of the 10 that we've had that have focused very much on back to this just sense of paying attention and the gratitude we have for what we have, that sometimes we forget. And if there's a silver lining to this pandemic, it has been that we have been able to focus on things right in front of our nose, that it wasn't that we didn't care about them, but we didn't ever have time to stop, right? And now the pause button was pushed, and we're realizing how important all of this is. So,
True.
yeah.
True.
Well, let's move to the Rainbow Cuvee and tell us a little bit about it. And, you know, it's wonderful that people who believe and love justice and equality, and the whole also metaphor of somewhere over the rainbow, which has been said more than a few times during this isolation in place, and it's such a great metaphor for the day. And I think you said it's probably one of the finest that you're pouring right now, which is great.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're not pouring yet. We hope to start pouring on.
I'm so sorry, I got ahead of us.
Well, I've been drinking all along. I don't know if you've been watching.
Okay, wonderful.
I hope everybody else is. Come on, it's wine o'clock.
It is. It absolutely is. So tell us about it, and if you wouldn't mind, go into, you know, I think most everybody on the call knows that we can't call sparkling here champagne unless it's from the Champagne regions, but there are a lot of other things like dosage, like other terms that I think it would be great to go through, and then the characteristics of Rainbow Cuvee.
Okay, so first let's talk about, you know, some of the general pleasures of bubbles. Number one is, for me, you know, I totally understand the concept of comfort food. I think we all do. But comfort wine is a slightly different way of thinking. And for me, bubbles definitely fit in that category. I know most people think of bubbles for being celebratory, and there's a side to me that says yes. Yes, because we're here now. But I also just think that by its very nature, it is effervescent, and the bubbles as they go up simply make you happy. It's pretty darn basic, I know. Getting the bubbles in the bottle is the littlest trick of nature. Winemaking, when you have fermentation, you naturally create CO2 that escapes from the barrel or the tank, but we trap it in the bottle. Ta-da! Bubbles. I mean, and the bubbles have this wonderful ability to bring up the smells of the wine. So you don't have to swirl bubbles. In fact, it's not advised because that knocks down the bubbles. So when you're with a sparkling wine producer, do not swirl your bubbles. It's a habit for many people. I've seen people swirl their coffee. But the bubbles actually, and the reason why you like to drink bubbles cold, and the reason why it's wise to pour a small amount and keep refreshing the bottle with, is that the cold maintains the carbon dioxide. And just like a flat Coke, it changes the acid balance if it gets warm, and it will be perceived as sweeter. So that's why we like it cold. So we make a gorgeous base wine. We use only our own grapes. It is the foundation of our belief system that this is a unique place that yields unbelievable flavors that no one else can replicate. And our entire marketing campaign is to make wines that are so distinctive and so delicious that you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with an undeniable thirst for Iron Horse, and nothing else will do. So we make this beautiful base wine, we put it in the bottle, we add sugar, we add yeast, we get the secondary fermentation, we age it. When we're ready to go to market, at the minimum 3 years to make it vintage. We riddle, which is turning the bottle and tilting, getting the yeast down into the neck of the bottle, which we then freeze, eliminate, that's disgorging. And then we add, I'm answering finally your question.
Okay, it's important.
We add the finishing element, special sauce, ingredient X, dosage. Liqueur de dosage, D-O-S-A-G-E, but no one says dosage, dosage. And dosage is the last thing we add to the bottle before you put the cork in it. At its most basic, it regulates the degree of sweetness or dryness. At its most complex, it's like seasoning and cooking. So if you put all Chardonnay in your dosage, it's going to be leaner, more lemony. If you put all Pinot Noir in your dosage, it's going to be richer, rounder, more berry-like. And amazingly, just like in cooking, 1 milliliter in any direction, younger vintage, older vintage, brandy, that will dramatically alter the wine. And so that is what allows us to make, we now make 16 different cuvées, cuvées being special lots or blends. And, you know, as far as we could come up with another one tomorrow, Tuesday Cuvée, I'd be thrilled. And where a lot of the difference is, we have about a half a dozen base wines that we make from different sections of the vineyard, and we're doing more and more of that. But the artistic play of dosage is so amazing, and it never ceases to amaze me how dramatic. You can, when we do a dosage tasting, which we're going to do tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m., we're going to do a dosage tasting, and we'll taste 8 different possibilities. And then we're going to pick which one we like if we do. And if we don't, then we go back and keep trying. It's tough work, but you just got to keep tasting.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Might start getting emails from people on the salon saying, if you need any help, please let me know. Where's the jobs board on the winery website? So a few people I can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have the Rainbow Cuvee.
Oh.
And so those of you who do, raise your glass. If you don't have the Rainbow Cuvee because you weren't able to get it, or I couldn't ship it, I was only delivering it close, and you have something else, that's okay too, because I told Joy some people can't get it. And
absolutely.
It's quite all right. She knows that the way you'll get to Iron Horse is by drinking something else that she can tell you all about. So
the biggest thing is being together over a glass of wine, even virtually.
exactly.
I mean, I am just delighted to get to meet you. So cheers. I should have waited, but cheers.
No, quite all right. Cheers. Now, I want to open it up for questions, Joy, for people. I know one of the things that I was asked earlier in the week, I think Shelley and I both were asked if you were going to address what is Sonoma doing and in general, and what is Iron Horse doing specifically about reopening for tastings. What's that going to look like? When might that happen? Could you tell us about that before we go to Q&A?
Definitely. It's it's confusing, or at least it's confusing. So what happened Friday at 5:30 p.m. is that the county said that tasting rooms that offer sit-down, that wineries that offer sit-down food service could open. So some wineries opened as early as Saturday, because it went into effect at 12:01 a.m. So some places, if they have where you sit down and you get a meal served with wine and you pay for that as an experience at the winery, they could open. Tasting rooms could not. But you know what? There are certain things where I do not need to be first.
Yeah. Yeah, understandable.
And I don't know about this. And we're planning as though we'll be able to open on Friday. So what that means for us is, number one, we have developed an entire regime, a routine, and with a checklist, so that everybody in our tasting room, like a pilot getting into the cockpit, you have to go through this checklist. And we're going to do that. We're, first of all, and today we were power washing everything, and then we'll be disinfecting. And then the way the run of show, as they say, is that you'll drive into our parking area and you'll see a mask that says, please put on, see a sign that says, please put on your mask. You can, you're only by reservation. We can't have walk-ins, so it's by reservation only. And we're staggering the reservations one every 2 hours. So we're cutting our capacity in half. Now, Iron Horse is already an outdoor tasting area, so we're sort of ideal for this. But we've, so you'll then go to the concierge or the host and check in, but you must have your mask on, I'm sorry, you must. And then out of a dishwasher rack, you will pull your own glass, which will not have been touched since coming out of the dishwasher. And then you'll go to the tasting bar and you'll be able to have one flight. There's no choice. There's one flight, sparkling and still. And we have allowed about an hour for the entire tasting. We're hoping, of course, that you will want to purchase wine. And for that, you will put your credit card on the tasting bar, or you'll read it to us. And our staff will always be wearing masks. Of course, you won't wear a mask while you're tasting. That's just not, until I develop the straw.
If you tell me how to do that. Wow.
And then your glasses will, you'll put them in a basket for us, and then they will go to the dishwasher, and that's what we'll do. And in between each tasting, we're going to be wiping everything down and trying to gather our wits. The biggest thing that we've been talking about, which is the giant unknown, is having our own idea of how this is going to go, is when you interject people.
Oh, those.
It's like, so we are, anyway, the bottom line is we are going to practice the old adage, a soft answer turneth away wrath.
Wonderful. Well, I will now open it up to Solange. Shelley, I see some people have been typing in questions into chat. Would you like to start with those?
Yes. So this first one is from Bobby, and it's actually several questions, so hang in there. But the first part is, how long did you live in France, and what was your schooling?
So I got to live in France for 4.5 years, and from 13 until I went to college. And I went to a school called École Active Bilingue, which was a private bilingual school that was run as a lycée. So English was taught as a second language. And by the time I got there, I was supposed to already be taking my third language. So I had Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish to this day because I burst into tears because they were translating Spanish into French, and it was like,
oh.
Help.
Right.
Help. So I started focusing on mathematics, and that was my saving grace, because you don't have to speak any language to do math.
And how did you get to ABC in LA? Bobby's late husband, Malcolm Klein, managed television stations in New York, Channel 13 and LA, KHJ. So now we're trying to see if we can make yet another connection.
Oh, yay. So when I was in college, I was a copy boy for the local newspaper, and I got the bug there. I was in the, and my job title was copy boy. I'm not, right? And I worked nights and weekends. And I got to be in the teletype room at that moment during the Saturday Night Massacre in 1974, when Richard Nixon fired everybody. And the teletype machines were practically jumping off of the floor with all the bulletin, I mean, lights flash. I felt I was at the center of the universe and wanted nothing so much as to be Woodward and Bernstein combined. So out of school, my first job, I got to be copy boy for United Press International. So I'm really dating myself. But the point is, that's where it started. So UPI, then I worked for KPIX TV, the Westinghouse owned and operated in San Francisco. I went to Atlanta and worked for Ted Turner. I was there the day CNN signed on, which is pretty wild, in 1980. And then I went after that to ABC in Los Angeles. I think I had a tilt theory of the continent that I had to every 2 years go back and forth or it was gonna flip over.
So that's quite a path.
Yeah.
So, and next question comes from Liz Hudson. What challenges do you have in the growing of the grapes? How many acres of grapes do you farm there?
We farm about 160 acres of grapes. It's about 50-50. Maybe it's now 60 Pinot Noir, 40% Chardonnay. We have all the challenges that every farmer has. The only great thing that we have going for is that we're in California. So, you know, no humidity. I mean, if you can't grow something in Sonoma County, you should give it up. That is clearly not your calling. But so, for example, this weekend is really hot. It's really, really hot. And that poses all kinds of what ifs. And I am very fortunate that my brother, Lawrence, manages the vineyards. But I know that sustained temperatures of over 100 degrees, the vines just shut down to protect themselves. So it really affects our growth. And right now we're in full bloom in the vineyard, which means the grapes are, so this is critical. This is when the grapes will set behind the little flowers, and that is what determines our crop. So, and weirdly, they say it's gonna rain on Saturday. I was like, yeah. No, it doesn't rain no, it doesn't rain now. So needless to say, the biggest challenge is that we're just never happy. Never
is that nature is your boss, really?
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
And the next question comes from Paul. How did you end up going from media to wine?
Oh, well, that was easy. That was easy. But what happened is that I celebrated my 10th anniversary in the news world by quitting. And that was prompted by getting my annual review from my immediate superior who had flown in from New York. And he told me that if I did not shoot myself in the foot, I was going to be just like him. And I went home and cried and quit.
that sounds like the Devil Wears Prada story when she said you're going to be like me and she just gets out of the limo and goes home.
Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. And because, you know, there I was in the unbelievable position of being able to weigh heaven and hell. And in this instance, heaven won, which is just not always the case. But in my case, it did. And so I showed up, sort of like showing up on Thanksgiving dinner when they're just drawing the last dish and waltzing in and saying, "Oh, can I help?" That's pretty much what I did.
And then how many years, Joy, was it that you represented the wine and sold it all over the country before you became the CEO?
This is a big, actually next month, which is next week, will be my 35th anniversary at the winery.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. It is incredible. And my parents, this is their 44th vintage. I know.
Your parents are another whole salon in and of themselves, because
They are.
two of the most extraordinary people I've had the pleasure to meet. And I know they're, I believe, 90.
My dad is 90 and my mother is 89.
I mean, and they look like, I don't know how they do it. I know they're hanging upside down in the warehouse, but they look
all
like
it's all that wine. It's all that Iron Horse.
Does everybody hear that? We need to keep drinking more. Okay.
That's what does it.
Other questions?
I actually was wanting to, I don't want to go away from Joy, but I think one thing you haven't addressed yet, Michaela, is where you are, and tell us a little bit more about where you are and why.
You're right, I did not. I'm freezing my ass off. Anyway, at 55 degrees here. No, so this is Alan's wine cellar. And this was the cellar he designed and started his business designing wine cellars and doing corporate tastings and importing. And it's one of my favorite places. And on a hot day, I could just stay here. So could Kuda, the husky. He really likes it here. So yeah, so this is the cellar, and it's been amazing for 23 years now since he built it, and always graced here with now a Rainbow Cuvee, and it holds 1,600 bottles, and I'm trying hard to just drink a little bit at a time. And my friends who are on the Collective Conscience Salon here today also keep saying you have to drink more and faster, or just invite us over more to share, which is harder to do with distance. But I figured I can put bottles out in buckets and let everybody take a sip in the driveway. But anyway, yeah, thank you, Shelley. I had forgotten to say that this was his mastercraft. So thank you.
Well, and before we got started, we were saying that how interesting it was that on Memorial Day, we're red, white, and blue. And that we also have this wonderful sort of trajectory with Joy in the vineyard and you in the cellar, sort of the farm to table, vineyard to cellar.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, this is just a great experience. Thank you.
Terrific. Any other questions from anybody?
There is a comment that Liz Hudson, who about whom you will hear in a moment, who is a farmer, said in response to your answer about the grapes, spoken like a true farmer.
Oh. Can I see her hands?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, she talks about that all the time. And they grow peaches, plums, nectarines, and soon almonds. And they also have the fruit stand. And so they're in Sanger outside Fresno.
Oh my God, how fantastic. Oh, well then you must really care about my Broadband initiative. That's very important, because precision agriculture, climate smart agriculture, that is so dependent on having that capability to be able to use the technology. Yeah, very, 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 very important. Well, we're just about ready to put in my father's vegetable garden, and that is well, first of all, it's remarkable because it's so late. We are, I know it's amazing since it's still so hot out right now, but we're prone to frost as late as June 1st. So we don't put anything in the ground, because every time you do, guess what? But my dad is like Thomas Jefferson. So we're going to be planting, amazingly, 300 varieties of tomatoes.
Oh my God. And where is that going to be planted? Is it behind you?
Well, behind me, thank you for seeing that, how gorgeous that looks behind me. Just beautiful dirt. Did you know, are you admiring our dirt? It's gorgeous.
I absolutely am.
But this is where all the big things are going to go. The gourds, the pumpkins, the melons, the corn, the pole beans, all of that. The delicacies like the tomatoes are in a place closer to my parents' house. But my brother and I are very mean because we have straitjacketed our father so that he cannot have 301 varieties. He has a new one, he has to eliminate one. That's all there is to it. One plant each, that's it.
Wow. I mean, we could do a tomato trivial pursuit maybe, because I only know about 10 of them. 300, unreal.
I think there are 100 times more than that actually in existence. And his specialty are cherry tomatoes. And they are unbelievably sweet, all different colors. And they never really make it to my kitchen because by the time I pick them, I've eaten them on the way down.
Wow. Wow.
We have actually a couple more questions. One, Liz Hudson is responding to you about broadband and says, it's a huge issue for us, you bet, and for our rural schools right now, for sure. I'm still transplanting things too, so you're not late. California has a nice long growing season. I think we need to connect the two of you offline for sure.
Well, I'm going to be on next Monday, trust me.
Good.
Okay.
One more.
Gator in the field, so.
There's one more question from Anna. Joy, is there any group that you are working with on the broadband initiative?
Well, there are several groups. That's one of our problems, is that we have a lot of groups that are very active. I am a chair of the California Democratic Party Rural Caucus, and this is obviously it is a major initiative for us. So that is one group that I'm working with. I also am, there's something called the California Broadband Council. There is, I'm never going to get this right, RCRC, which is Rural Community something. And, but it represents 36 counties and primarily board of supervisor members, and they're very active so there are a number, but my email is super easy. It's joy@Iron Horse Vineyards plural.com, and I'm happy to engage.
Wonderful. And Anna's the one who lives pretty close. Their home in Sebastopol is not far.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. You know what? A partner in crime. I will love that.
Yep. Be wonderful.
There's one last one, which is, are we going to see the Iron Horse Bloody Mary mix? Paul would like to know.
Bloody Mary mix. I don't think so, but I will tell you one thing. I have been known to put a little vodka in my bubbles.
Aha.
And I call it an overjoyed.
Oh, this is fabulous. All right.
Let me tell you, it does that. And, you know, so usually it's at the winery Christmas party or something.
Love it. Okay, Linda Hayes, you can go get your vodka bottle now and put that into your glass of Rainbow Cuvee. Wonderful. Is that it, Shelley?
That is it.
All right. Joy, again, thank you so much. I could do this, and I'm sure all of us agree, we could do this with you, once a month and follow the new vegetable garden and what's happening with the reopening, so we can visit you, and maybe we have this salon in person, because it's really great, and there's so much to celebrate and learn at the same time. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Really my pleasure.
Pleasure. Well, everybody, thank you so very much. Happy Memorial Day. And again, join us next Monday, June 1st, and Liz Hudson reporting from her gator in the orchard to talk about a family production farm in California. Thank you so very much. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.